Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown, and with me for the very first time are our intrepid interviewers. Say hi, intrepid interviewers.
Hi, intrepid interviewers.
I was scared for this part of speaking. I was so scared. Oh, God. Hello.
Oh, man. Tanner, Caitlin, Rowan, thank you so much for joining me. It would be wild if people don't know who you are, but just in case, you were looking at the, I want to say Mount Rushmore of Dimension 20 interviews, but that implies that I'm on it as well, and I don't want that part of it.
But deserve to be on it. You deserve to be on it.
My first question to all of you is: you all have worked so hard and come up and slogged through years of developing brand, and what does it feel like to have just a full clown bounce onto the scene and just steal your thunder?
Straight up amazing, because that's the best thing ever to me. I'm like, you just love the show. Great. That's 100% how I started this too. So I love it.
Well,
yeah, I can't say that I didn't just come out of nowhere. I was doing other journalism and then went, well, Dungeons and Drag Queens seems fun. I'm a journalist. I can write about this.
Yeah, Jordan, I gotta say, you include me as if I'm also, not part of the clown brigade. I'm just a guy. I'm unfortunately just a man who can afford a microphone, which is a dangerous thing. And truly, I don't know what I'm doing here, to be honest. So you told me who was going to be on this call, and I was like, oh, I shouldn't be here. But okay, yeah, that's why I'm going to say yes.
Look, Tanner, you've interviewed Caldwell Tanner, so you're, I think, the only one in the group to get a NADPOD representation. You've hit a bar that I don't know how you did it, and I'm very impressed. I begged them for interviews, and they said yes, and then never replied.
If it makes you feel better, Jordan, I also told them in person and handed them business cards of our show in person when they did their Nashville show, and they were like, oh yeah, totally. And I was like, I'm never going to hear from you again. And I straight up, honestly, I think the only thing that helped me get the Caldwell interview was that I live in Nashville, and at the time our main campaign that was happening was kind of an urban fantasy set in Nashville, and I think that was what helped make the emails stick out to him. But yeah,
he was oh, you're suffering here as well. Yes.
So I think that's the only thing that helped. But I have a video of me jumping up and down screaming the second that I landed it. Well, because especially as someone who kind of I started doing this interview series on our show by accident, because I got connected with Jasper William Cartwright and asked him if he wanted to do an interview just for fun, and it was a thing because at that point we were strictly an actual play, and he said yes, and I got him to do it, and that gave me the undeserved but I guess deserved confidence to be well, if I can get Jasper on my show, I can get anybody on my show. So I just started shooting off emails, and I came from the music industry before, where if you email someone, they're not going to respond to you. But in the TTRPG world of things, they're very nice people who respond to you. So it just kind of happened by accident.
I have a friend. His name's Elliot Davis. He is a game designer. He also works on the show My First Dungeon, another great actual play. He has a thing that he said to me once, and it has stuck in my brain forever. You sends out emails, you gets back emails. And it's just true.
Yep. 100%.
Caitlin, how did you land in this very weird little circle?
So I worked at a smaller website called The Illuminati, and then
I got that in my notes. I've got Illuminati - Screen Rant. I did my research today. You're gonna see Jordan Brown viewed your LinkedIn profile when you check.
Love it. Then I got grabbed up by Screen Rant, and the department I'm in is run by someone who I knew from Illuminati. So she already knew I was a huge Critical Role fan. So I begged and begged and begged to do the Legend of Vox Machina season 2 junket, which she was like, yeah, because no one else knows what that show is. So that's great. Perfect. So I did that junket, and then reached out for a follow-up and got to talk to Liam And then from there, found the PR reps info for Dimension 20, asked to do that, and then just sort of fell into it because I kept telling my editors, I swear people like this. And then the numbers worked in my favor. So that is how I fell into it. And it is my joy at my job. The TTRPG stuff is like my happy place.
I think we're all very fortunate and very happy to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Caitlin, I hope that in any video where I have teasingly said that like you are the bane of my existence, I hope you knew I meant that all in fun. Just that
I have corporate overlords. That's why I get things.
Yeah, yeah. It was just like, I think you got like Rashawn right after me, and I was like, come on, it was a thing only I had.
Listen, you make a deal with the devil, you become a warlock. It's how it works.
Yeah.
I think that is my favorite description of my job I've heard so far. I will take that.
Yeah, it's yours. Go. This is a free space.
That does make it a lot more fun to think about it in that way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Before coming into this interview, when I sort of like came up with this little weird idea, I had come up with that we were the 4 nations in Avatar. And I messaged all of you this, that like, I'm Fire because wildly the most chaotic of any of you. I'm going in order on my screen. Tanner, because like water is so indicative of community, and your stuff is so much about like where you came from and like what like that, how that inspires you, like felt like water. And Caitlin, because I mean, I don't want to say, well, I mean, let's be honest. You're the professional of the group. That like you're Earth because you're like the full bedrock. Like we don't exist without like your like building blocks of like setting a world in motion. And then obviously the philosopher of all of us, Rowan, just hanging out in the air temples. Anyway, any thoughts on any of that? Did I nail it?
Those all sound more fun.
Well, we may sound more fun, but again, you have thumbnails with people that are like people who I've emailed probably 30 times. I'll say, Jordan, that was really kind. I read that part of the email that you sent, and I was like, that's so nice. That's such a nice thing to say. Because I never would have thought of kind of community being something kind of inadvertently stood out in, I guess, specifically the interview series that we've done and everything. So that was very, very kind words. I'm very appreciative.
But, Caitlin, I hope you understand how important the like that you are in this group. I do not mean to undercut you in any way. Truly, like you are the rock of us. Like you are the steady one. Like
I do have to say, if there's an Avatar though, it might be Dr. M. Friedman. But Caitlin, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say I am sarcastic by nature, which Rowan knows. So I'm just gonna give you guys a hard time with that interview. That's just how I show my love.
I deserve it. So yeah.
And it's a great vibe. It's a great foil. It works really well because I'm too earnest. I am too enthusiastic and earnest.
I think I'm with you, Rowan. I think I'm right there alongside you.
Yeah, I'm so I did an interview with Vic Michaelis. It's our Vic Michaelis last night. It was our 3rd time chatting. It was the worst technical difficulties we've had yet, and we've had horrific technical difficulties in every single one. And it makes it so much funnier because Vic will just freeze for like 30 seconds for me. And so at some point they'll come back and be like, how much did you get of that? And I'll be like, very little. And then we just like move on. And it's just like, it's us talking over each other because we don't know if the other one is talking. And because it's on Riverside, it's just recording locally. And so everything looks fine after the fact.
Just so much work editing it.
Yeah. I do know it's way too much fun to like watch like the technical breakdown and watch us just like giggle hysterically as we can't get through an interview.
I have a friend who worked at CBR and he did an interview with Siobhan and Erica when I think Erica was in Australia because Erica kept trying to zoom in and would get cut out, and so they were silent. So it truly turned into him and Siobhan just making fun of the fact that Erica is like frantically trying to get their camera to work. And that basically is like half of the interview. And he just tells me after, he's like, how do you think this went? I'm like, you don't have the video showing, so I'm sure it's fine. But also, that's hilarious.
It's a great bit. And also, like, I think, like, all these people we're interviewing are people, and God, they must have so much fun just being like, fuck, who knows what's going on?
Yeah, it's definitely like, if you all have not been following along, Vic Michaelis and I are best friends now. I lead the weirdest life in the world. Like I said, we've spoken 3 times genuinely in a month and a half. We have like a standing bi-weekly to discuss the most recent Very Important People episode. And
amazing.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. Every time I'm just like, is Vic just such a good actor that all of this is a lie? And then
it's
they
just a
keep
great ongoing bit.
Yeah. And then like literally like we're texting each other and I'm like, I think we're really friends. I think.
I hate the idea of doing a friendship as a bit. Like
all of my friendships, just pure bits. That's it.
Yeah.
It's like both hilarious and a nightmare. So I love it.
Yeah.
Comically cruel.
Yeah.
Comically cruel thing to do.
Yeah.
Jordan, I envy the freedom that you have because I feel like, because we are an actual play show, like first and foremost. So I feel like I got to keep the like people that I interview within the TTRPG realm, which I know is a huge realm and everything. But as a fellow like Dropout super fan, there are people that I want to talk to just for myself that I don't necessarily think makes sense on the show. Which again, it's my show; I can do whatever I want. But still, I feel like I gotta like hold off on talking to certain people. So I live vicariously through you for talking to all the kind of non-TTRPG Dropout folks that I really want to talk to.
I mean, Vic is either about to be in Rotating Heroes or is in. It's they're in the next Rotating Heroes. It's Rashawn, Vic, Zach, and then Jasper is running the game. And it's the first recorded actual play that Vic has been in. I'm sure it's fantastic because,
cool.
I mean, what a killer crew.
Yeah.
But don't take them away from me. They're my best friend. Don't steal them.
No one else can talk to them.
Yes.
No one else
No
can
one else
interview
can
them.
talk to them.
This is the friendship as a bit thing that we were just
Yeah, it's so weird because Caitlin, like you, I go through the PR person now as well, and so I feel so bad because I send her at least 2 emails a week, and like I try to wait until I've got several requests to go in, but like at some point I'm like, oh no. But they just announced Iffy is the host of Actually. Well, I have to send a request for Iffy in. Like, I can't wait. And so, she has to hate me. She has to hate me.
No, she's so nice. There's like
she's amazing.
People, she's great. I'm sure she's honestly just super excited that you're talking to everyone. Like, I would talk to everyone if I was allowed to. Again, corporate overlords have to have a reason for doing things, and it can't just be, but I wanna.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like Screen Rant is like, I'm sorry, you're gonna do an hour long with a production assistant on Dimension 20? And meanwhile, I'm in Sky Smith's DMs being like, hey, you want to chat?
And I just have to, well, not anymore, but when I was writing for Polygon, having to beg Charlie Hall, please let me write anything, please.
Yeah. No, I'm very envious of the freedom to do that, and I'm trying to do other stuff with that. We'll see what happens.
Well, at this point, like you have clearly like laid a solid foundation that the leash should maybe be loosened a bit with all the great work that you've done. I remember like as a fan of the people that y'all have interviewed, that when I started seeing, Dimension 20 folks on Screen Rant and other things as well. I was like, oh, cool! Like super, like a real interview. I remember being so excited. So they should tell them I said to let you loose a little bit.
Yeah, if Tanner says it, Screen Rant's gotta listen. Like, Valnet's gotta get their shit together. Tanner said so.
I can yell pretty loud, so you just let them know.
It is definitely super weird also being like the arbiters of other people, like, oh, getting recognition through everyone else getting to see this because we're doing interviews. Now it seems like, I don't know the right, credible, I guess? Because we're like, oh, we've done the interviews. Now the work that is being seen can be viewed as worthwhile because someone else is talking to them. I think that's such a weird way that our culture works, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, Air Temple over here philosophizing.
Yeah, I
bad.
expected it.
No, I think that's a really interesting point, though, because especially, like, I think it's part of it, too, is kind of the unfortunate overlords, as Caitlin speaks of. Like, they do have a reputation about them that I think, like, the reason that I got excited was because it sparked a little spark in my brain that said, like, this legitimizes it. Not that it needs to be any further legitimized beyond, these shows and these creators' own existence themselves. But I think that, like, the third party of kind of getting to look at things and analyze things does kind of help breathe like a different new life into creations and that sort of thing. So it does make sense. I do think it is strange that it legitimizes it, but it does like help bring in that new perspective and new vein into the creatures of these creations and everything going on. That is very important.
Yeah, I was so excited. I agree with Tanner 100%. Like when I saw, On Screen Rant and Polygon, like started like pumping out articles and videos of like, hey, here are these like actual plays that you love. Like, and here's like, I mean, granted, a very nerdy space, but still, like to get that like recognition, be like, yeah, no, they're real. Everyone should know about them. And then. I still don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, especially when there's like a sleekness to it, like when it is a Polygon article or a Screen Rant article or something, that also has, because, it is different than, I'm not trying to dunk on myself, but it is different than like when I interview someone and they say yes, and, we do pretty okay. We are still just a little like only 2-year-old little TTRPG podcast. Like I know that part of it is that they're being nice. So it is also nice to see like the interview and that third perspective being presented by something that has the ability to create that like sleek and refined product and all that is.
And then I get so bitter when I see NPR and Variety, and I'm like, you motherfuckers, I was here first, and I can't imagine what you feel like, Caitlin.
I'm super honest. I usually text the reps and say, good job.
Oh, I love that.
I'm really excited that the reps are able to do that.
Like, good for you. But I've been pitching that NPR article that just came out. I've been pitching that to Polygon for like 6 months, and I'm like, see? Look. I think that's also the difference between having to pitch something out. Like, I'm just freelance everywhere, so I have to make a case for myself, and then seeing other people make the case, like, well, maybe one day.
Yeah, I remember not the most recent NPR article, but a ways back, and they were like, some shows they have on Dropout are cartoon hell, and I was like, okay, well, what are you doing? Like, I mean, technically it's there, but they haven't produced a new episode in 5 years. Like, so. I have no ability to transition between questions, as if you've watched any of my interviews. I think I cut out most of my rambly stuff. I usually just like suddenly am like, a next thing on my like weird notebook of nothingness.
Jordan, you gotta black out and just keep talking. Like that straight up, like that's the thing that I do is I black out during the times where I feel like I got to make a transition, and I just don't shut up, and I just power my way through it, and it helps. It helps blacking out. That's what I do.
My favorite transition I've ever had to do was when I was interviewing Erica the second time, and they gave this amazing answer about why Abria was using 5E, and it was so smart and everything, and I looked at all of my questions and went, oh no, all my questions are about how Ava is dumb and silly, and I love it. Crap. So I fully so that answer was smarter than anything else I'm going to ask you about, and I just have to acknowledge that, and we're going to move forward. Because I was like, I can't not acknowledge this. That is a better answer than, remember when your character stuck their paw in someone's mouth? Like, come on. So, yeah, I don't black out. I very much either, like, go straight to the next question, I do a segue, or I'm like, well, uh-oh.
Oh, I love Whelp. That's great.
Whelp's very good. Rowan, any hot tips on transitions?
I actually use a lot of like the skills that I use when I GM to interview. Like I'm just very much being an active listener and like improving a lot of the times. Like sometimes when I'm like, oh, this is a really good question, but it's out of the order that I want it to be, I'll be like, okay, well, I guess we're going to put this question here and I'll use that there. But other times I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of a question based on the thing you're saying. And like, you seem really excited about what you're talking about. So let's just keep going down this vein. Sure, why not? And if we got to the end of the interview and I didn't get any of the questions I had out, sure, but clearly you had fun, and whatever we talked about will probably be good.
Yeah,
that's the right answer. One of us has to be the best of us, and it's Rowan.
Yeah, I usually point for no reason, and then I just say a new question.
I like that.
It works. It works.
I just go, favorite interview, go. Like, that's my, like...
I'm going to do a call out to you next time I talk to someone. Be on the lookout for that.
Yes.
I'm just going to point as I ask a question for no reason.
Yeah, I recognized it very specifically because I was editing my Abria interview today, and I did it, and she went, big point.
Oh my god, that feels like a dig. That feels like part of like feud.
Like, big point.
Yeah,
I love Abria so much.
Yeah, the Abria interview is so hard to edit for me because it is so wild. Like it's so much of us. It's not bickering. There is some bickering, but like there's so much just like back and forth between us as opposed to like I ask a question and then she answers. It's more just like we're just like shouting at each other about things, and I'm like, I don't know how to cut this into a like manageable clip.
And that's art.
Yeah.
How it should be. I think one of my favorite interviews I've ever done was my Candela interview with Abria and Liam, where halfway through the interview I gave up because they weren't going to answer any questions. And I talked to Abria like 2 more times the following 2 weeks, and I just gave her crap about it every single time. And she's finally like, Liam and I texted Liam after, and I was like, we didn't actually help at all, did we? It was great. It was amazing. My last question then was, can you tell me anything?
And they went, no, of course not.
Why would they?
Yeah, after I talked to Abria, I had a Carlos interview coming up, and she was like, you should make stuff up that I said about Carlos, then tell me what it was, and I'll text him and tell him that everything that you said was true. And so, like, Carlos doesn't know that this happened yet, but like, and I'm not. I hope it worked, but like, I fully gaslit Carlos into believing that he had posed in a lab jacket for the Dr. Winnebacher art, and he was like,
sure, I did.
He was like, I do have one. I guess I must have, because I was like, Abria says, and like. Then, like, I messaged her to be like, hey, this is what I did. And she's like, perfect. I'll tell him that's what happened.
I have an interview with him next week. I'm going to tell him that you and Abria gaslit him.
Oh, about him wearing the jacket.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my journalistic integrity. I cannot.
I was about to say, this is insane. This is an insane thing to do. Oh my god.
Really, so how do you feel about your coworkers gaslighting you? How does it feel to work in an unsafe work environment?
He doesn't know that we gaslit him. Yeah.
It's the idea too of like after like so far after a project being like, I guess I don't really know what I was doing with my life that entire time. Like, just, like
It's so real
so
though.
crazy.
And
You can convince me of most things, honestly. If you tell me strong enough.
If you tell Carlos that, he almost certainly won't remember me telling him that, and he will just be so confused. But for me, it was very fun in the moment and after to message Abria about it. I don't remember what the other thing was that we had worked on. Something there were two things that I was like, hey, I made up these two things to Abria, and she's like, got it.
Amazing.
This is an ARG. You're turning your interview with Carlos into an ARG. Creepypasta somewhere about this.
Driving him slowly insane interview by interview.
Yeah.
You're actually playing Call of Cthulhu in real life with Carlos Luna.
In Carlos's hand.
Oh man. Do you all have some favorite interviews though? That like who's like pick one. Who's the best?
This is like, I don't have kids, but this feels like if you told me to pick a favorite kid.
I mean, my Brennan interviews have been great. Like,
That's my thing. It's Brennan and Abria. Like, I can't pick between them because they're so vastly different.
That must be nice.
Such a hard problem to have, yeah.
They basically go talk now, and he is super deep and philosophical, and then with Abria, it's just us messing with each other and her not answering my questions. Great.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum.
I think if I was actually talking, so one of the people I interviewed today was Representative Zoe Zephyr and journalist Erin Reed. We talked about Dimension 20 because that's how we got connected through my interviews. And so like getting to talk about activism and policy and culture journalism and actual play, getting to like talk about it through talking about Dimension 20, very, very cool. So I'll put that one if I'm going to not say Brennan, because God, Brennan's so fucking smart. It's not okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta be boring and give like a couple answers just because the people I talk to are so like I don't think I can actively pick. One that kind of like was very, very fun, and not that I didn't expect it to be or that I ever expect them to be not fun, but like one where I just really engaged with the person I was interviewing with. It hasn't come out yet, but I got to interview Gabe Hicks. And talking with them, what a fantastic creator and entertainer. George Primavera was another super cool person to talk to. Those ones I think were ones that kind of caught me off guard with like how like I feel like I clicked with someone. I kind of like if it's all right, Jordan, I kind of had a question that I feel like juts off from this one, like for everyone.
Collaborative interviewing.
Pointless pointing.
Yeah.
I was wondering because I know I got to interview Caldwell Tanner. Another great one. Sorry, another great one was Beth May of Dungeons and Daddies. That one also hasn't come out yet, but that was me completing my like infinity gauntlet of interviewing one person from every actual play show. That's like my top three. That was a great one. But kind of like in what we do here as interviewers and everything, we kind of have a job to like host and entertain in a more specific way, but it's still there. Has anybody had, because I have, and I'm happy to talk about it, but has anybody had an experience where you felt like really out of depth with the person that you were interviewing, like their charisma and their bravado, like professionally so, was something that you felt like you had to work to keep up with and like stay on their level entertaining with?
Ooh. Someone else answer as
yeah.
I flip back through my notes to see if I have any.
Yeah.
Go, Rowan, go.
So actually, my answer is not within the realm of actual play. My other main beat that I do reporting for is in the world of psychedelics. And so, like, within that world, I interview people who are, like, the top of their field in the world of psychedelics. So, like, talking to some guy, like, there's this guy, Zeus Tapato, who is a doctorate student in, like, Netherlands, who's studying DMT and like AR and like how those two things intersect. I talked to the guy who figured out the evolutionary tract of psilocybin mushrooms, and he like knew how long ago, like 15 million years ago, why psilocybin evolved to become psychedelic based on the way they evolved from response to like predators, and like he could nail it down based on the genome splicing. And so when I get into that kind of conversation, I'm like, you're speaking a different language, and I'm just smiling and nodding and pretending like I know things, and then you're gonna call me out on it, but it's okay.
I don't have a good answer for you, and I'll explain why. When I'm not doing my TTRPG interviews, a lot of my interviews are anywhere from 4 to like 10 minutes. So when I'm doing that kind of interview, it's not focused on charisma. It's focused on, oh God, let me get through the questions I need to so I can get a quote. So I'm not focusing on, am I matching your energy? It's, oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, good, I got my quote. So with that, no. And then on the TTRPG side, I'll be super honest, I just get silly. So it's
same.
Yeah. It's not like, oh no, I can't match your energy. It's, oh, you're just gonna be like silly. Awesome. So am I. I think that's sort of my approach to it, because on that side of it, I'm less worried about getting quotes for headlines, and I'm much more of, I get to do this because I begged. so I haven't had that situation so much. I've had moments where I've been thrown off. But it's less about charisma things and more about my friend setting me up. So I have a friend who used to work at CBR. He's my best friend. He's amazing. And he did the Vox Machina interviews before me and talked about me in both of them. So Travis Willingham was like, your friend such and such says hi, and I froze because I wanted him to say hi back. I'm like, don't say that. You're going to see it. So I just froze, awkwardly went, thank you. And they all bust out laughing. And I'm just like, oh no, that was my first impression. So mine is less, oh, I don't know if I can match your energy, and oh no, this isn't starting great.
Man, that's so delightful. Travis called you amazing though, or awesome, amazing, right?
Yeah, I did my
research. I saw your pinned tweet because that's all I can see because I'm not on Twitter.
No, so when we're doing interviews that are Zoom, we have to open the Zoom chat and they'll be like giving you timing cues. So I got the fun timing cue of like wrap it up, and I was like, no, I have to tell them how much I love Critical Role. So I did, and yes, they were all very excited, and that made my entire day. And then the other side shut the Zoom off immediately, and I went, well, okay.
Jeremy, buddy.
Jeremy, that was Amazon.
Oh, okay. That one makes sense. That makes sense.
Overlords.
Yes.
Good God.
Overlords. That was not.
That was not the human being. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Jeremy has abandoned me once after an interview when I was just talking to someone. He's like, I have work. I was like, that's fine. We're vibing. It's not on. You're good.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer for you either, because my interviews are so weird and chaotic that, I think if anything, people are trying to match my energy because I come in so hot. and so I maybe I have to tone it back is the thing. Like people, no. I like in my actual interviews, like sometimes I have to like dial back, and be like, oh, this person is not gonna match the like I'm fully lean forward in my chair, losing my mind about this. I'll say like the most nervous I was going into an interview was my first Vic interview, because I really love them and like everything they do, and I like we talked about this last night. They don't break a lot, and like obviously like on very important people they do it intentionally, but also like make some noise. And wherever like I've seen them, I don't feel like they break very often. I was like, what if I go through a full interview with Vic and I can't get them to laugh? Like, what a like horrible nightmare that will be. And it turns out they actually are a very easy laugh, and they love to laugh. It's just in improv situations, because they're doing a job, they're able to like keep it together better.
Makes sense.
And now they're your best friend as a bit.
Yeah. Yes. Now we're best
so
friends.
So now
as a bit.
They're not gonna laugh because they're doing their job.
Yeah,
full circle.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Vic also does a delightful thing, and which is we talked about this. Because I specifically, Rowan, I was talking about you, that like your questions are so smart, and like it's terrifying because I feel like maybe someday I interview Brennan, and I don't.
I'm so excited for that energy. It feels like an unstoppable object and an immovable force.
Yes. But I was like, like I can't match this. Like, and Vic was like, I'm the same. Yeah. Vic was like, I'm the same. When someone starts asking me a question, I start answering before the question is over. I'm 3 sentences in before I even register what the question was. I ramble for 4 more sentences, and then I say, did that answer your question? And people are too nice to say no.
That's amazing. No, I will give you this tip. Don't try and match Brennan. Yeah. It's not going to go well. If for Brennan, truly, you're just like, talk, sir, and just let him go. Like, I don't have real advice for interviewing Brennan. My advice is give him an open-ended question and see how long he'll go.
My advice is read a lot of philosophy books. I think that's the only thing that I got. Just so much theory. Just too much theory.
Yeah.
If you want the rest of your life to be just overwhelmingly sad, but when you get in a conversation with him, you'll be there. You got it.
Yeah.
There are your options. Over prepare or just do whatever and flow with it. I feel like mine's easier.
Absolutely.
I'm going to over prepare for sure.
Look, mine is definitely going to be the do whatever, and just have like a bunch of scribbles on a page.
Like, you don't understand what happens.
Oh god!
You make it look so easy.
Usually, I'm just in a happy haze when I'm doing those interviews, and I finish. I'm like, man, that was 30 minutes. No.
Oh boy. Yeah. This is all unusable. The great thing about Riverside is at least I'm going to be able to find it and delete it easily. The editor is very good. Do you all have a favorite answer that you've gotten from anyone? Like or maybe a favorite question that you've asked and you're like, I crushed it.
Well, I mean, anytime Brennan tells me, wow, Rowan, you're really good at this, that's a great question, that's it. That's all I need. I don't remember anything that I say before that or after.
That makes sense. That's got to be like crack. A very strange kind of crack, yeah.
It is just positive affirmation all the way down.
Yeah, I can think of, that's my other problem, I can't remember things. Like I can think of stuff that has nothing to do with what we're talking about where that happened. But on the like D&D side, honestly, it might be Erica's answer about the D&D 5e, which had nothing to do with me. That was just them being amazing. But yeah, I mean, maybe when I asked Brennan about if they're thinking about adapting any of the Dimension 20 shows, and he got mad at me because I wouldn't tell him which ones Matt said they should adapt before he answered. That was super fun.
I love
was really
that.
proud of, because I was like, now you have to answer because you want to know what I know, which is all funny because the article was already published that had Matt's answers.
Amazing.
You were like, if you'd done your homework, Brennan.
What are you, busy or something?
Right? So yeah, I think that one was one of my prouder moments. Just like I said, I'm very snarky and sarcastic, so I got to be super sarcastic at Brennan in a very silly way. But yeah, I mean, the truth is, they're all so smart. So to me, it's less about like, oh, I crushed it with that question. It's, oh, thank God I set them up to actually be able to talk about something they're passionate about. I think that for me is more of it. Like, for me, if I crushed it with a question, it's usually not specifically related to D&D. It's, oh, thank God I got a quote. So, like that, I think is my thing with this. I really liked when I talked to Louise for Fast and Purple Worm, and I got to talk to him about playing a bard that was not the traditional style of bard. I thought that was a really fun conversation, where I definitely asked some good questions that kind of surprised him. But yeah, it's hard to remember because I feel like all of Brennan's answers are smarter than my questions.
I mean, fair.
You did ask that question, and it did make me realize that I was like scrolling through the folders in my brain of like, oh God, I've done a lot of interviews, and now that I'm not remembering any of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and what's funny is I should have answered this earlier for some of my favorite like interviewees in general, but kind of like what Caitlin said, where it's very rewarding to feel like you're letting people talk about something that they're passionate about. That was what it felt like the entire Michael Schabach interview. That entire interview that I did, dude was just so happy to be a part of the Dropout family and Dimension 20, and spoke with so much passion and love for his team. And he's the only interviewee that I've had who wanted a list of the questions ahead of time, not necessarily to prepare answers, but to make sure that he thanked the correct people who worked on those projects alongside him. And he had his list for each question and each project that he planned on bringing up. I think the passion was really transparent in Schabach's interview, and that for that reason is probably kind of the whole interview is my favorite like vibe, I guess, of questions and answers.
Hell yeah.
Delightful. I asked Christina Ariel to cast a Real Housewives of Star Wars, so that's mine.
That's great.
That's a great question. That's a great question.
She had a great time doing it.
Yeah, I think you can tell that I'm a teacher's pet, because if I don't get a good question in my interview, wasn't a good interview.
Yes. I usually get it, like, I'll get it during the interview, but I also will get it afterwards, because when I stop the interview, I'll like just stop recording instead of leaving. And when they're like, good job, I'm like, you couldn't say that when I was recording? Come
on. We do. I have, because we have, for our podcast, we have like a private feed that's just for the, cast and everything. And there will be like conversations where I'll have with people kind of post, the main episode, where, they talk about them having a great time, and they tell me that I'm very good at this and what they liked about it. And those I'll save and put in our like private ones for everyone to kind of hear us talk shop, and the, the gold star kiss on the forehead that I get from some of my favorite people. And it is very nice to get those. It feels very good.
My strategy is just to be self-deprecating about like why someone is talking to me, and then they talk about how great I am.
Clever.
It works every time.
Yes, you got to get those compliments out somehow.
Yeah. I don't know if I've gotten. I don't get a lot. I don't know if I've ever gotten a "that was a really good question," because it's just. Like I said, it's just the wildest energy nonstop from me.
You just get unbridled joy. Oh
Yeah.
no, how terrible.
With them and have their contact information. Blow his
Yeah, true. You said you were texting Vic, so yeah. Shut up.
I have texted Christina Ariel and Vic Michaelis. Those are the people that I have acquired actual friendships from. The Christina interview was super fun because I don't watch any Housewives, so I texted a friend who watches all of them, and I was like, "Write me questions, please." And my friend was like, "Do you want trivia or like open ended?" I was like, "Open ended." And so then I just had like a block of questions, and I would just be like, read one, and then Christina would be like, "Let's go," and would explain to me like the entirety of the story around it, and then give me her thoughts on it. And I was like, "This is perfect."
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I realize the one thing that I do collect, because I don't know how often, it may just be me and Jordan, but like kind of introing the interview, the thing that I collect is people being like, wow, that was a crazy intro. Thank you. Like that's the thing where I'm like racking them up, and I want to get as many of those as I possibly can. That's my crack.
You do very good intros. You do very good, like, here is this wildly talented person. I'm going to list the reasons why they're wildly talented. And because it's people like Jasper who somehow don't think that they're wildly talented, they're like, I can't believe you would say something so nice. And it's like, shut up, Jasper. You're so good at everything. I got Jasper for an interview because I literally jumped in a Twitch stream of his, and I was like, "Hey, Rashawn and Abria said they like do interviews. Will you also do one?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course. But if you have Rashawn and Abria, like, why would you want me?" And I was like, "How could you undercut yourself that much? Like, you're such like a huge amount of the TTRPG space." But
he's so British.
Yes. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah,
there
I should say he did say Rashawn and Abrir, because of course it did. Like
he's got to chew those open-ended A's as much as possible. Yep, those silly Brits.
I did. I don't know, Rowan, if you have any questions. If anyone wants, Tanner, you've already done a big one of like. If you want to ask each other questions in your own style, because we've already done mine, which is just random transitions into another thing. Rowan or Caitlin, if you got anything you wanna ask the group in your own.
I love that you think I prepared for this. That's so nice. Rowan, you go first.
No, I think mine's gonna be a real conversation ender, you know.
Holy shit, now I gotta know.
Yeah.
Now I gotta know what it is.
Why do you think I have something ready to go with that, Rowan? Because you're...
Well, if we're gonna go in my style of questions, buckle up, everyone. Let's get cerebral. So, the world's fucked, right? Like, shit is fucked right now.
Yeah.
But this brings us so much joy. And this is such an important part, I think, of like building community and making sure that the things people care about are represented and making sure that the things people are joyful about are represented. And specifically with Dimension 20, these like very progressive, very mutual... No, come back. My camera's garbage. There we go. These very progressive, very like mutual aid oriented, profit sharing, all these very like leftist ideas. What do you all think our value is within the community as journalists? how do you think that we can make those things bigger and more prominent and can support these larger social movements with the silly haha entertainment journalism that we're doing?
And to piggyback off of that, which is your favorite Dimension 20 season?
There we go.
Perfect 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's a question. I don't know why you think I found it more specific than that.
No, it was perfect. It's exactly what I wanted.
Oh my god.
Starstruck Odyssey. And I Rowan, the audacity on you.
I just got sad.
Yeah.
I said it was a real conversation ender. I'm sorry.
Well, it doesn't end here. Caitlin said so.
Yeah. How?
I'm confused.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I do also love that my camera was refusing to focus for half of that question. The clip is going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be you asking a question and doing this.
That camera is openly conservative. You gotta give me a camera.
This is a transphobic camera, actually. I don't know, it's fucked up.
Oh my god, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Throw it out.
I fully thought you were indicating something, and I was like, oh, I'm not understanding.
Nope, I was trying to refocus this god-awful camera. If someone wants to buy me a camera, hey.
Yeah, someone get Rowan a camera, a leftist camera, socialist camera, please. Thank you very much. It did seem like you were starting to bring in some of the psychedelic stuff when you started trying to get it into. Yep. Yes, exactly.
Your question boils to like our responsibility within this community as journalists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Way to make it sad to the lead up. Well done.
I'm so sorry. It's what I do.
Appreciate it.
What she does best. I will say, I mean, look, I did a shot of hot sauce to raise money for Doctors Without Borders. I did several shots of hot sauce, in fact. The Tabasco one is the one that nearly killed me. God, Rowan. I mean, I think, I, at least in my interviews, because I just like get to do whatever, I do get to be like, hey, Kevin Stiller, like, let's talk about profit sharing. And like, we talked a lot about like, not only that Dropout did profit sharing, but like, profit sharing was to literally anyone who worked at all with Dropout the last year. Like, he had hired someone who worked for 6 hours and they got the same email to be like, hey, we're sending you more money. And he didn't give me an exact number, which is fair, but he was like, it's enough money to buy like a piece of equipment that you've always wanted that will like be the next step in your career. Like, it wasn't small. Because he had shared that email on Instagram originally. It was one of the reasons why like I made a TikTok about it and he like commented on it, and I was like, great, do you want to do an interview? Which is the thing I do whenever anyone comments on my TikToks. But yeah, I don't know. Rowan, did that answer your question at all? I talk to people about it. I don't know. I do my best to be like, hey, this seems good. And one of the things that I love is like Kevin Stiller and Kate May and probably other people that I've talked to have all sort of reiterated the same point of like, Dropout is not a good corporation because there are no good corporations, but the people running Dropout seem to be good people. And like, I like that not only is that hopefully true that they're good people, but also that like everyone involved seems to be like, not the corporation, the people are good. So yeah. Was that anything, Rowan? Was that usable?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, You're the one using it. Go for it.
To kind of piggyback off of that, first off. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I would say for your favorite D20 season.
Yes,
the important question, actually, out of the two. That was the more important question.
Sorry, I got to make sure this roller coaster goes back up first.
Yeah.
The tiniest little hill back up before it's straight downward decline. Oh my god. Probably Crown of Candy. However, I actually haven't finished Burrow's End yet, and I kind of think that might do it when I'm done with it. I'm watching it with my roommate right now. But to kind of piggyback, firstly, before I actually continue the roller coaster downward, I want to put a big asterisk on Rowan saying us as journalists. I am unfortunately just a white guy who can afford a microphone, which there are too many of in the world. I just want to be real clear that I am not a capital J, capital U journalist. Okay, that is not me. I'm just a guy who likes yelling. I think that kind of talking about like our role in creating platforms for people to speak on, specifically Dropout, but also in the grander scheme, creators with leftist ideals and people who kind of portray leftist practices is, I think, honestly, a really important part of showing that the opposite way that our general society and our government currently operate is A, viable, and B, is not just viable but successful, and there are professional, high quality performers, creators, and hubs of these creations that portray these morals and put these things into practice that do exist. And it's not this intangible, like, out there thing that feels like our society could never reach. Sure, it's a little pocket of, this little quote unquote little production company. And if we're speaking about kind of the general vibe of the TTRPG community in general, it's this little pocket of the internet in the grand scheme of the fuckery of all of everything else. But it's it's real, and it has an ecosystem, and it can exist and provide. And I think that highlighting those people and giving that platform to kind of like bringing it all back, legitimize the fact that this can be done, is in the grander scheme, going beyond TTRPG and all that sort of thing. In the grander scheme, that is the thing that I think is our little contribution, is the helping to legitimize this reality that can be and is good, especially in the midst of all the bad that's going on.
Mm-hmm. The 7 is my favorite.
Straight down, a little bit up, go back down.
And I'm gonna pull in a Bria and not actually answer your question. So I'm being super honest. I'm still surprised people know who I am. I don't really think about it in those terms. Again, I work for a giant corporation. So for me, I'm just really excited that I can let these creators and help these creators be able to talk about the work they're doing and be as excited as I am on camera with them, to make it very clear, no, this is awesome. And people think that because Green Rant's covering it, like you guys were saying, it gives it a certain legitimacy, which we can argue forever about our thoughts on that. But so to me, it's I would say that my responsibility more than anything else is let them talk. Because end of the day for me, it's no one, this is super fun. No one needs to actually hear what I have to say. I'm just someone that happened to fall in a position where I'm able to talk to these folks, and I get to do that. So I think for me, it's less about what's my responsibility to the community and my contribution to the community, and more of man, I'm so stoked that Abria gets to really break down why Burrow's End was important to her. I'm so happy that Brennan gets to talk about what inspired these different campaigns. I'm super excited that Erica and Siobhan and Jasper and Rashawn and everyone can talk about the work they're doing with this, and they're able to talk about what they feel is important from it. So yeah, I think my contribution is I'm exactly like the people who watch the videos. I just happen to be in them.
That's so real.
Yeah.
I love that answer.
Cool. It sounded real smart, right?
It was very good.
It sounded great.
It was real smart.
Yeah. Rowan?
Oh, I have to answer my own question? I never have to do that.
That's right. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Come on.
You got and your favorite season.
Burrow's End, I think, is my favorite. And then maybe Misfits and Magic. Those two are pretty close together for me. I think, especially with journalism being kind of attacked in the way that it is right now, journalism, like, it wouldn't be attacked if it wasn't important. Like, people wouldn't be trying to defund newsrooms. People wouldn't be trying to take all of this down. Like, the corporate overlords, exactly, wouldn't be trying to take all of this down if it wasn't important. If, like, that radical joy that we find in community with each other, especially in tabletop role-playing games and actual plays, it is an inherently community-oriented medium. And so, like you were saying, Tanner, legitimizing these new ways of approaching the way our social contract works and kind of highlighting that. And that's kind of why I ask the questions that I do, because I think that the microcosm of actual play and TTRPGs can be so representative of the larger world and the practices that we have in here, that if we can make things right and if we can make this industry the way we want it to be here, we can provide an example and we can learn from each other to bring it into other sectors of the world. So, like, the way people think about the art that they make may not be revolutionary, but the emotions and the community that people take out of the art, they can bring into other places of their life, and that can be revolutionary. Like I said, like Brennan said in the interview I did with Mentopolis, like, tabletop role-playing games aren't going to change the world, but you can make people be fun, and then you can radicalize your friends at the table. Like, that kind of vibe.
Great answer.
Great answers from everyone. You all are so smart, and
I'm very happy to be colleagues with all of you. This is really, truly delightful.
Yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate being called a colleague.
Jordan, what's your favorite season?
I said a Starstruck.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were still obsessing over the transphobic camera not focusing.
Yeah. Starstruck is 1. Burrow's End is 2, though, now. And then sophomore year, I think, is 3, with A Crown of Candy on, like, any given day might pop in at that 3 spot.
I think mine are 7, Misfits and Magic, and then like a toss-up between Burrow's End and Fantasy High freshman year, because I just will never get over some of the ridiculous decisions that were made. Like, I'm a cleric, but my god sucks, so I don't want a god anymore. I'm like, that's the entire point of your character. Let's go. Like, amazing.
Episode 2, getting episode 2 will go down as one of maybe the greatest moments in any entertainment history.
The fact that it's now a terminology of getting episode 2,
incredible. This has been incredibly delightful. We absolutely have to do it again. But if the folks out there want to find you on the internet, where can they find you to see these wonderful interviews that you have done? Tanner, you want to start us off? Because I'm just going to go in the order of the people on my screen.
Sure, yeah. I am... Hi, but if you got this far and you don't know who I am, hey, I'm Tanner Azzinnaro.
Maybe go back and replay the interview so you can listen to us talk if you don't.
Hey, look, if you're lost on who I am right now, take that little scrolling thing at the bottom of your screen and drag it on back to the beginning. Do this again. Listen again. But I am the host of a TTRPG actual play podcast called Foes and Fables. If you are looking for a new actual play to get obsessed with, we are approaching our 100th episode at the time of recording this, I believe. So there's lots to binge. Thank you very much. There's lots to binge. Many different campaigns, urban fantasy. We have an Indiana Jones inspired one. We have a holiday one and a Halloween one. So we got a lot of options. So you can literally just search Foes and Fables on basically any social media to find our socials, but especially go to any platform where you can find podcasts and just search Foes and Fables. And that's where you're going to find this little fun little thing that me and my friends do together.
It's a great title, Foes and Fables. Of
It is very
the
good.
alliterative and
Thank
titles,
you.
a real good one.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you.
Caitlin, hit us with it.
You can find my interviews on Screen Rant Plus YouTube, because we have separate ones. I don't know why. You can find me on Twitter at Caitlin, CAITLIN _Tyrrell, TYRRELL. My Instagram is the same, but with an underscore after Tyrrell as well. And I have a TikTok. I don't use it much. I have 4 videos that are like over a year old, because I am lazy and don't want to make videos. But yeah, it's one of those too.
What, the pivot to video wasn't a great idea in journalism?
Hey, it's been great for me.
It totally
I gotta
has.
say, yeah, I'm over here.
Love
Yeah.
video. I just don't edit, so they're all on the YouTube. That is my official actual job. So yeah, I love that y'all were like, "You're the professional one." I'm like, "You haven't talked to me yet."
I stand by my assessment.
I also stand by.
You're the
my
one who
assessment.
gets a salary, I think. So I think
Yeah.
that's what makes
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, consider yourself assessed. Okay.
Yeah. Rowan.
You can find me on anywhere in the internet at Rowan Zeoli. You can also find me at a new venture that I am launching with Lynn Kodega and Chase Carter at Rascal News. It's going to be a new worker-owned, independent TTRPG journalism outlet that will be soft launching February 19th.
It's very
That's
exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very excited for it. The official press release is going out next week, and we're going to be up and running. We got some articles already up. We have Lynn is doing a takedown, or not a takedown, doing a really harsh analysis of that YouTube TTRPG video, which I think is a very fair assessment. I have a very interesting review of Purple Worm Kill Kill. I also have the interview with Zoe and Aaron that I mentioned, and we've got a whole bunch of more stuff lined up, and I'm so excited for it. Yeah.
Love it. At this point, I will tell you that when I ask Vic to plug the internet, they take the time to mention anti-trans bills instead of plugging themselves. I hope you all feel bad about yourselves.
Oh no!
Listen,
Oh,
I do it in my
we-
do it in my
no,
It
work.
was all a trick.
We've been assessed.
Yes.
Poorly.
Oh,
Shannon's
man.
like, let me test all of you. You failed.
Yeah. You all failed.
Shit, we
It-
capitalismed by accident.
It's so funny. I was so thrown off the first time when I was like, Vic, where can people find you on the internet? And they were like, you don't need to find me. Follow your local trans organizations. And I was like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, follow Trans Lifeline, follow Care for Gaza. I don't know. Find your local mutual organization. Go to your local tenant union meeting. I don't know. Get out there. Get in the streets.
Do stuff.
Do stuff. Point.
Point
All
is
right.
pointing.
I have never figured out.
Contribute there, because I work for a corporation.
You
You're
can
like, my
still
opinions do
contribute.
not reflect Screen Rant.
Yeah.
We gotta poison some stuff from the inside, okay? I know people say it doesn't work like that, but it can work like that.
Donate to charity. I don't know.
Perfect. All right. That's it. There's no way to end these. Thank you all so much for being here.
That's
We'll do it a million more times. Yeah. The end, and I hit stop.
See you in the points.
Yep.